For that update. Joining me now is Democratic Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy of Florida, who sits on the Ways and Means Committee. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us this hour. There are a lot of sticking points for the next relief bill, and not a lot of time, as we just heard from my colleague Garrett Haake. Expanded unemployment benefits would need an extension by Saturday to avoid a lapse in payments. What are the chances of that happening?
You know, I think that I am grateful that we have started the negotiations, but let's be really clear here that the Senate doesn't deserve any credit for turning in their homework late. They've had over 2 months to act on this, and the fact that it is very likely that the unemployment benefits will lapse this weekend and leave millions of people without the resources that they need to take care of their family is just shameful on the part of the Senate. But we have got to get to negotiations and get something passed as soon as possible. There are so many Americans whose lives and livelihoods are on the line.
So you do anticipate that nothing will be in place by Saturday when Americans may need more payments and some relief from end of their month bills and payments and stuff like that?
It's hard to imagine, given the legislative process that is required for bills to get through both chambers, for me to see something in law before this Saturday.
Fair enough. Let me ask you about some of the expectations that Democratic leaders are holding on to that they would say are non-negotiable, even at the risk of extending this fight past that unemployment benefit expiration date. Is there a red line for the Democrats in these negotiation positions?
Look, I think that we need to get as much help to American businesses and American families as we can. People, and especially in my state where the numbers are increasing on a daily basis, unabated, they need resources to address both the public health crisis as well as the economic crisis. And we need to work as hard as we can to get those resources out to the American people. And negotiation and politics is the art of the possible.
Let me ask you about why we find ourselves in this position. There are a lot of folks out there who are saying, why weren't the previous relief bills sufficient in the first place? Did Congress just misjudge how long or how deep the economic impact of coronavirus would be felt? Or were there areas, but not targeted in the right way with these resources?
You know, we acted very quickly at the beginning of this crisis and passed 4 bipartisan bills in a very fast manner. It's the Senate that decided they wanted to wait and see. And in the 2 months that they waited to see, what they saw, what I'm seeing, is that Americans are dying across this country. Americans are getting sick. Americans are losing their jobs. 1 million Americans losing their jobs a week. That's what they waited to see. And now, you know, 2 months past the point where the House acted, the Senate is trying to get its act together and move something forward. This is why we are in the situation that we're in.
Yeah, and you've probably as well seen the president championing the cause of reopening schools by any means necessary. Republicans may wind up tying school funding to reopening classrooms in their bill. And that is obviously an extremely contentious issue. This, as Florida's largest teachers union, is now suing Governor DeSantis and the education commissioner over their order requiring schools to teach students in person 5 days a week. How do you see these issues playing out? What's the potential impact, for example, in your district?
As a mom of 2 school-aged kids, I believe that reopening schools should be driven by science and safety, first and foremost. And the threats that the White House is making regarding funding actually is counter to what public health officials suggest we need to determine reopening on. We need to know whether or not we have community spread or how bad the community spread is, and then our technical capability to reopen the schools and create the kind of spacing and social distancing that is necessary to keep our children and faculty and staff safe. And all of that requires resources. So this whole idea of withholding resources is counter to safely reopening schools.
In a new NBC News survey monkey poll, 74% of adults said that they are concerned coronavirus will have a negative impact on their household finances, and many already are seeing that impact. Your state reported the highest number of new unemployment claims of any state last week by far. Give us a reality check, Congresswoman, on the situation there and what's going to happen if expanded unemployment benefits aren't extended. Are you expected to see a tsunami of just financial ailments across your state and your district?
You know, it is a terrible situation in Florida because we are heavily dependent, our economy is heavily dependent on a high contact industries, hospitality, tourism, those types of things where people can't go back to work because they're afraid for their safety and security, and because a lot of these businesses can't reopen right now. It's not because they're unwilling to go back to work. And so it is critical that we get them expanded unemployment benefits. Also, because we have one of the lowest unemployment benefits in the states. It's only $275 a week. What family can live on that right now? And so this is a lifeline that has to be provided to them, not to mention that Florida has an unemployment system that has failed Floridians. It has not paid out unemployment benefits. There are tons of people who haven't been able to access the system because it was built not to deliver unemployment systems. It was built on a cynical view of workers. It was built with an indifference to the suffering of people who have lost their jobs.
All right, Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy, thank you so much for joining us with your insights this morning. I appreciate it.
Great to be with you.